was very deep and very profound, and it had to do with expectation and reflection and personification. We were talking about assumption in Revelation, and the divine was like, listen, what you thought might be the same is not the same this time, so don't assume this time, because your ego might be bruised, right? And that bruising of the ego is an expectation, which is a rejection of the reflection that the divine is trying to show you in authentication here. So let me speak what the divine spoke through me to share with you today, which is even bigger here than what we're speaking about at this moment. What you choose to expect is what you will project, which is what will reflect back to you. Be kind in all you do and all you say. In your mind, allow the divine to be intertwined and reveal itself in time. Have no project. Only reflect and allow the void to process. What you choose to neglect will no longer reflect and be a part of you. We've been talking about this with the new and the endings and the peeling away and the processing, and now you guys are truly harmonizing and believing and balancing in a spiritual, human, practical way. You're intertwining these things on a very deeper level than what you personally say. You're feeling through the energy of what it is. You are in your divine deliverance and obedience. It's where you are now cultivating what you project is what you reflect. This is why a lot of us, they would always say to us in spirituality, when you manifest and you leave it, because what you expect then is what you project, which is what you intentionalize. And in that moment, when you expect something out of the divine without something being reflected back to you that you have to clean up within your mind, within your heart, within your soul, within your intention, that's then when you'll come in line with the direct reflection of the intention and the expectation, in which is the projection of the reflection of the divine projecting back to you this time. You had to align. You had to not expect. You had to understand that when you come correct to the divine is always going to ask you to leave something behind. Neglect something that is not in alignment of what it is that you're choosing to pursue. For a lot of you, this was an identity. This was a label. This is the way that you thought something. This was believing in some other type of fable, is what the divine is saying, rather than you coming back online into your own sovereignty and your own clarity at this time. So many of you have had to realign. And now the realigning is the understanding that what you expect is what you are going to project, and then what will reflect back to you at these moments in time. So what you say, what you carry online inside is what's going to be reflected back to you. It's Saturn. Saturn is big in this universal structure right now, especially the cosmic energies that are trine and connected, and we have the eclipses that are upon us. So on September 7th we have a lunar, and then the 17th I think it is, we have a solar, and it's a partial solar. So you guys are now understanding universal energy. Okay, the threads of the intertwining. And if you understood and see the very fabrication of the words that are the spoken frequencies of the divine, you would see the very fabrications of the very thin lines, and it looks like silky thread from a spider's web, and it glows, and those are the lines that are being intertwined of the divine on a cosmic level of presence here, with every spoken word, with every intention, with every expectation. So the voice is the reflection of what it is that you are in the projection of, and then that is going to be reflected back to you. This is why they're saying, be quiet. Thank you, sir. This is why they're saying, keep your truth to yourself. It's about how you speak your truth. It's about how you experience that. It's about what vibration you're carrying when you speak that in that coordinates, because the voided effect of what's going on between the ending and the beginning of what you're choosing to neglect can come through. There is many triggered people out there right now. There are many people that are unaware of what's going on a very spiritual universal layer of what the divine is doing at this time. And those of you that have intertwined, you understand the folded maps in hand, the synchronicities of the divine in astrology and what's going on and available to you at this time. And so through the voided process, if you choose to not get in a space of argument, if you choose to not have to prove yourself, if you choose to use your discernment with every step, with every breath that is spoken through you in that moment, per the divine's request is what's being said to me, you will be shown more than you can believe on a multi-layered dimension of what it is you perceive, because you have no assumption and no expectation. This is the art of being and divine flow without the rejection of what you think you know. You're sitting in a monumental space of opportunity, but it's up to you how you choose to align with that grace and that tactile discernment of what you're feeling and what you've learned, and in divine obedience for you, because it's really the belief of what it is you choose to project. And now you understand that on a very multi-layered dimensional reflection within you, not just in a human way of your body of being nice, being kind, being compassionate, being understanding, because what's reflecting to you is just a part that was you in an old paradigm. And when, here's the difference, right? So the divine says, judge the fatherless. You want to know what that means? That means that they are not connected to the divine. They do not walk in the reflection of the Christ consciousness and the divine. And when it says judge that, you're not really judging that. You're seeing it for what it is. Now, when it brings a triggered response up in you, or when you have an assumption about that person, that's the art of judgment right then in that moment. If you allow the divine to reflect to you on an intuitive level and what's being spoken to you, not by the devil, but by the divine at that moment in time, where you can see the authenticity of the soul that's trying to creep out of that person, but yet you understand that it is a projection of a reflection of an expectation that they have with him, that is just showing you an old paradigm of where you've been. And then you have no feeling about it. It's just in the moment of being, you recognize it for what it is. But the moment you have an assumption, the moment you have a presumption, the moment you have a feeling about that triggered response inside of you, if it brings you a triggered response, that's a moment of judgment, not only upon you in that reflection, but upon that being too. So the divine is showing you a very thin line, and it's the fringe walker line, and it's the line I've always walked on. And so you can see the cause and the effect of every experience that was to be, what is, and what's going to be, based upon your own external and internal experience, if you choose to reflect thee within thee at that moment, in a present moment. And so now the divine is hearing a higher call at this time to becoming in line, to understand what it is to be in the divine obedience of accordance of what their destiny is, what their divine connection and reflection is, what the divine is bringing to them and through them. And so it doesn't matter necessarily what you believe or what you truly perceive. What it is about the intention of the reality of what it is that you're connecting to. And at the end of the day, what you're all connecting to is a divine universal truth. And that divine universal truth brings on knowledge, wisdom, experiences, love. And how do you define love? You can't define love. Love is all things. Love is many of things. You can't have the dark without the light. The lack of information is a lack of light. And that's why the darkness exists. And this is why you guys have been hearing the call to action. But it's in these moments that you resist a lot of that action or assumption, so that the divine can show you what's truly going on this time on a multi-layer function, not just within you. You can see the chords. If you understand the harp and the violin, and you seeing the divine's fingers play the threads of what's being orchestrated, not only in your life, but others' lives in the collective, then maybe you would sit in more of a divine reflection and allow the divine to actually do its job with you and through you. And that's the art of being in flow. More than what you know, it's more about what you feel at that moment and where to go. And so you're having to sit in a place of obedience and observance more than you ever had, okay, to be able to just be in flow. And when we're in flow, what happens is free your ass and your mind will follow. So the mind right now at this time is going to cause cognitive dissonance, is what they're saying. It's going to try to trip you up. It's going to try to get you to project or reflect. And that's a part of the Saturn aspect here, is what they're telling me, and the Pluto aspect that's going on. okay, is the assumption. And so right now you can't assume anything, because the divine is working in ways of the unseen that you can't even imagine, that is working out for you in your life in the in-between. And so this is why the divine is like, sit, just be quiet, have no expectation, just sit in accordance. And a lot of people are like, sit, what does that mean? And it doesn't mean that you take no action. What it is that you see in retraction. You have no feeling. You feel the in-between. You feel the extreme of the seen and the unseen. You understand what's going on, not only within you, but outside of you, in a multi-layered dimension too, in reflection. A lot of the collective went through a huge purge over the last 3 or 4 days, and they were responding to Gaia. They weren't responding to M-class flares from the sun. They were responding to the Schumann of Gaia. And Gaia was speaking. The Schumann is low frequency resonance. And low frequency resonance has to do with Gaia. But there wasn't anything that we had received in the last, hours that would have projected in the reflection of Gaia's interdimensional space. It was all coming up from Gaia with the protons and the activations. There was no solar wind in those days that you guys were feeling like shit again. And you can't tell me you weren't, because you were. There was headaches, there was visions, there wasn't connection, but you could feel your body doing some type of purge. And even if it was just energy that you felt on your back, and then you could feel the release, okay? This was part of the shift. And part of the shift, I even said to my husband that day, the very first day that it started, I looked around and I said, we're sidestepped. And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, listen, I'm telling you this right now. Whenever I get sidestepped from the line of the divine in which I'm in at that time, okay, when I get sidestepped, it's because there's something else going on within that line that they don't want me to be in that frequency. And so they're sidestepping me, which is quantum shifting me to another dimensional frequency. So that side shift actually took 2 or 3 days, and you were getting used to those energies, frequencies bodily, right? So there was a lot that was interceding, as they say, or causing osmosis or intertwining, not just from the resonance of Gaia, but what was happening inside of you, to connect more to the spiritual ability and the divine and more of a universal timeline. Remember the Hopi prophecy. Remember the rainbow children. Remember something bigger than spirituality in that existence. This is the universal energy. This is beyond the divine. This is intertwined with the divine in accordance with the scriptures at this time. This is universal energy. This is something way more. And yes, it's causing movements from 1960 again with the planetary alignment of yesterday, where Venus set in sextile with Neptune, and that energy hasn't been around since 1960, but it won't come back around again till 2137. And so this is a lot of energy that we're being blessed with, not only from the divine mother, but the Father in existence, with the spoken word and the fabrication of very essence of life on a universal thing. And a lot of you have been continuing to ask to connect to more, to reflect to more. And every time that you show up to the divine's door and ask for more, to reflect to more, to connect for more, you are going to get more, but you're going to have to leave something behind. It's like one of those divine offerings, but the way that they made it out to be in a sacrificial way is not the truth of the existence, because all the divine is doing is asking you to give up something that is not in alignment with the highest of pathways for you, that's already been written in your codes and what you truly know. And so it had to come from a place and a space of you understanding barter and trade, but now you understand the reflection of what you're letting go of when you come into the purest reflection of what it is that you know of. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee.
Stella.
Stella. That was fun.
It was awesome.
That was fun. Can't wait to go back and watch that one and be surprised at...
Way to dump the dump truck, baby.
Way to dump the dump. Isn't that usually how it goes? The old Stella fashion bomb, just bam!
The way to dump the dump truck of knowledge and wisdom.
And You know, it's just all part of the prism now. It's a given. It's a given. It's a given. You know, and a lot of you were, like this, it makes sense to me because of the fact is that in the truest of authenticity, when you ask for more, you're always going to be granted that shift to be given more. It's free will. It's what's at the door. But if you choose to have the experience for the soul growth of the process, in that moment though, you can't project, you can't expect, you can't do much of anything but reflect, because the divine is moving those chords for you. But we would always get in the way of our own self, right? By not taking a chord to our thought, or not taking a chord to our body, or not taking a chord to our emotions, and we couldn't see those things because of all the other things that were distracting or discord within us and outside of us, and even more, right? So sometimes when we're talking about the spiritual warfare, there's things that are outside of us, that are outside of our control, that we can't even begin to understand. And it's, thank you so much, Bumblebee. And it comes from many prophecies and many ancient things of so old, and it's so intertwined interdimensionally. But you had to get those things out of the lower mind. You had to come into alignment with self and sovereignty. You had to be able, the divine had to test you in multiple different ways, and the divine has a very sense of humor in the way that it plays. And the divine truly plays an authentic game of chess, and it always knows what you need best for the soul level of growth. And so many of you had to deal with lower dimensional spaces and multiracial places. And when they say racial places, what they mean is they mean that ancestors come from different lineages, and they don't always get along, and they don't always play nice, and you had to move those that weren't in your highest development and highest good out of your space. Like, all of this is in accordance from baby stepping. It's like where they're showing me, you know, the game Chutes and Ladders. They're showing me the game Chutes and Ladders, where you climb up the ladder and then you slide down, and when you get up to the top, you slide down, but then the other ladder that you climb up is even bigger, is even more profound than that one. And so you climb up the ladder again. But a part of the problem is we're all like crabs in a bucket, and as soon as we see somebody climbing the ladder to the top, instead of asking them for help, all we do is pull them down and try to pull them down and try to pull them back into the bucket, instead of working together as the brothers and sisters that we should in reflection. So when you feel certain types of projections, just understand that it's somebody too that wishes they could crawl themselves out of the bucket like you, but yet the only thing they know what to do is hang on to you, because they're so codependent in others rather than believing in themselves and asking for help from a sister or a brother. They choose to project, and then they climb all over you, and that's when none of us can get out of the bucket. So you have to leave those people where they're at when they choose to project or reflect upon you when you're climbing the ladder, right, in the authenticity. And all you're trying to do is take your hand and reach back and say, here I am for you if you choose for the taking. But yet all they keep trying to do is claw all over you. And so this is a part of the energy that you're leaving behind, because you're not in resistance of the new timeline. You're in full authenticity of the reflection of what the divine asked you to be this time, not the projections of what you thought you were. And you had to come from the lower spaces of mind to understand the projections, and to understand the psychic attacks, and to understand the generational curses, and to understand the generational mindset of lack and the embodiment of lack. And once you move out of the mindset of lack and the embodiment of lack, then you move to a higher space in accordance with what the divine has always had a hand in for you, on a higher timeline, with one race, one wholeness, one understanding of divine truth and love, in accordance written to the scriptures of what was, what has been, and what always will be. And that's where you're moving to in this higher reality. Grand Rising, Miss Jessie, how are you today? Happy day to you. Happy day to you. I can't wait to sit with you next week. Happy day. All right, so if you guys would like to jump into personal messages today are 22. Divine healing donation is 33. And then if you would like both, that is 50 at this point in time. And we can jump into that space for you. And if there's a call to action, which means that reflection of something that you're in the turbulence of trying to get to, just understand that we will not only put you energetically in alignment in a soul embodiment, of energy with the reprogramming of the third strand DNA, we will also put you in alignment with the frequencies. So when you jump in this type of space, and when I help you jump into this type of space, you're going to get tired, you're going to desire more. There's going to be many reflections, okay, that come to your door when we put you in that alignment of what was before to what is in alignment for you at this time. So there's a lot of experiences that one has when they go through this, many experiences, that sensations all day long. Some people just want to go eat. Some people want to sleep to allow the intertwining of the energies to peak. So there's many different things. Some people go out and they ground. Some people go out and they meditate. Some listen to sound and vibration. But all it's doing is supplementing the creation of the spiritual growth for you to be in that alignment for what it is that you spoke, what it is that you asked for. But there's a layer inside of you and inside of your mind that keeps you embodying the level of lack. And so if you guys haven't signed up for the seminar this 6th, please do. We have another full moon Reiki sound bath that is taking place as well with this full moon that is coming up. I think it's in Pisces, isn't it, Jay?
Yes.
It is in Pisces. So we have a full moon in Pisces coming up. Is that at the 23rd or 24th? I think it's
good
the 20,
question. I think it's the 23rd.
23rd it is. No,
Might be off.
it's not. That's when you're doing it, because it's the 24th. It's Saturday, but you were going to do it Friday night. You were going to do it Friday night.
Okay, I got you.
No, that would have already been passed. So it's got to be, yeah. You got a big, oh, that's a big one. That full moon is a big one. Okay. All right. So you've got that at the later on here in September. And then we've got the seminar on the 6th. Okay. That's the understanding of the spider. That's hilarious. I love you. Thank you. Okay. I mean, it's not funny, but it's funny. All right. So I've literally had like 3 spiders not try to kill me, but I'm going to exaggerate that space for a minute, but try to kill me. Okay. I am arachnophobic, but I'm only arachnophobic towards the poisonous ones that like to try to like kill you. I mean, they're not trying to, they just do it. But, and God has put me in reflection of course, the most poisonous ones that I do not like. Very close introspection of those spiders recently. And so there's things like that are being removed. So it's funny things that you might even see of those fears being removed from you, or things like that might be coming back, but it's not coming back to do anything to you. It's coming back to put you in alignment with what it is that you grew. Of course, they're always used as symbolization, as divine feminine protection. You know, you can put it in alignment with gods, goddesses, deities. That's perfectly fine. But what it's symbolizing is the weaving of the web, the intertwining of the threads. Because when I see spiders, I see dream catchers. I see the spider's web. I don't see the spider. And so I see the creation of what the spider is doing in relation. So I see the dream catcher's web, right? And so I see the webbing, and every knot that you see in the dream catcher's web, or where an intersection is of the spider's web, is where there's a choice, there's a free will, there's something there at every intersection that is made in that reflection of the web. And so every knot in a dream catcher is a reflection of a knot that you've tied, or something that's gone on. And so that's the understanding there. Hey Christy, what's going on? That's the understanding of what's going on in symbolization to what was being said. So I'm going to say this one more time, and then I'm going to jump into personal messages here. What you choose to expect is what you will project, which will reflect back to you. Be kind in all you do and say in your mind. Allow the divine to intertwine and reveal itself in time. Say in your mind. Allow the divine to intertwine and reveal itself in time. Have no project. It wasn't project. It was have no project. So have no projection. Only reflect and allow the void to process. What you choose to neglect will no longer reflect and be a part of you. Okay? And that's why the quiet time. That's why the emphasis on the void. That's why the emphasis on not giving in to the combative energies that would like to begin. You know, a lot of times you're going to come into connections with people that are in a very lower dimensional space at this time, and so they want to be combative, they want to be argumentative, and so that's where the divine is asking you not to be provoked by the energy in which you come in contact with that's trying to move you into a lower dimensional time, because we're in a voided process at this time. Okay. All good things in reflection. All right, you beautiful people. I am going to jump off here and get busy. All right, take care of yourselves today and each other. If you